a democratic stress test like the one we had in June in this country. I would not call them protests, I would call them a democratic stress test. Because the tensions between the liberties of the citizen, which are immutable and entrenched, and the survival of our constitutional institutions, that delicate balance is something we will have to navigate going forward. I don't want to raise issues which are not for this forum. But I've been wondering, as a citizen of Kenya and as a leader and a member of this administration, we are guaranteed our freedoms in very absolute ways, sure. But I thought the same constitution has also asked us to preserve the nation and preserve the constitutional order and its institutions. I thought so. I thought so. If that be the case, for example, if, for example, through popular consensus, and I'm saying this is hypothetical, it did not happen, but if by popular consensus we generate adequate public consensus to do away with some of the institutions of governance completely, and we can go all the way into doing a referendum to validate it, because that is the absolute way of democratic expression. We decide, the people of Kenya are sovereign, it is true. They exercise their sovereignty either directly or indirectly, directly through the organs that are established in the constitution like parliament, legislature, executive, but directly through elections and referenda. If we all decide, for example, through a popular consensus that we build public consensus that we don't need some of the institutions that are established as the constitution. It is popular, it is in the public interest, but I don't know whether it is in the national interest, for example, hypothetically, to abolish the judiciary. Because you can do that in a referendum. You can do that in the referendum. The people have decided we just need 2 arms of government, for example. We don't need an arm of government that deals with disputes between citizens and among each other, or between citizens and those who are responsible for running government institutions. So it's food for thought, and I know, I believe, and I really hope I'll be invited again, because these are things I would want us to spend a bit of time informally discussing. Informally. It costs nothing to exchange views. And you don't have to take my views. I also don't have to take all your views. Yeah? But because this is a formal process, I will leave it there and say the following things that are relevant as I close to this forum and the issues that have been raised, including the clip that was showed carefully. And strategically. Because corruption is a national cancer. It permeates very many sectors, and that fight, I think we should all gang up together in solidarity and save our country from the cancer of corrupt practices. And therefore, we need to stand in different places to see the issues properly. And I therefore urge you to embrace a multifaceted lens in reporting, so that you are the victim, the perpetrator, you are the arbitrator, and you are the spectator before you make a conclusion. So that you know, as media actors, you frame the public mind properly. I invite the Editors Guild to remain available and to receive the support of any kind from government in the things that we do, the regulatory framework, in the things we do, in the policy framework. Because as I've said, like any human endeavor, government as a human enterprise and as a human endeavor is not perfect, because it keeps on improving and learning all the time. So I want to encourage you to avail yourselves for consultations, collaborations, and constructive criticisms. And I like what the speakers who spoke here earlier on, the President, the CEO, and of the Media Council, and the President of the Forum. There are so many presidents around. So, of the African Forum, Oga, we hope we can collaborate and see how we learn from each other, improve on what is available, and make sure that we build our country. I like what has been said about, one, we don't need to agree. It's not even in the interest of the country that all of us agree. We need alternative voices. We need a plurality of opinion and voices. What we must guard against is disagreeing in a manner that jeopardizes our broad national interest. We should not, for example, disagree violently and use violence on each other. Therefore, Madam President, I know you, it's fine, you don't have to stand. I know it is, I know that clip you showed here was deliberately prepared. And the message is home. The message is home. And I better say no more, because other than the current role, you know, I am the immediate security minister of the country. So some of the things you're saying, I'm familiar with them. You are familiar with them. Maybe because we were in different positions and roles, I could have a perspective that you may not have. But I also admit there are perspectives from your side that we could not have as government. So the thin balance, therefore, of how we articulate our differences of opinion and different positions in the transaction of our national life, whether politics, business, professions, we must make sure that in those transactions we don't hurt our national interests, especially the existential, foundational circumstances that assure the long-term sustainability of our country. Now, you know, the balances between freedom of expression, assembly, picketing, media freedom, access to information, on the one hand, heavy protections, quite elaborate protections in our Bill of Rights. How do we balance that with public safety and make sure that the constitutional order is not overturned by extreme expression of democratic ideals? And those balances are in the Constitution. We don't have to go very far. We'll find them there. And only hold each other to account when either of us is on the fringes of those balances. The President of the Republic, and thank you for clarifying, Madam President. Please, that there is no tension between the Deputy President of the Republic and the President of the Guild. The President remains President, isn't it? So all protocols observed. I'm delighted to officiate this convention, the 7th of this kind. This conference, or this convention, brings together media, representatives of government like myself, academia, civil society, technology companies and all of us are here to define the future landscape of journalism in our nation. This rich mix of participants here today is an important ingredient in offering a holistic approach to the issues of discussion during this convention. The media is a powerful instrument for advocacy and education of the masses. With its tentacles in almost every home state, the media shapes not only the opinions but also the beliefs of citizens. Through its print, audio, and visual platforms, the media remains a leading source of information for the masses. With the advent of vernacular radio and television stations, Kenyans of all walks of life can now access critical information at the comfort of their homes and in their languages. We have moved from the one television, one radio station era to an era of a myriad of choices, including a new world of social media and artificial intelligence. These changes have had as big an impact on the media sector as it has had on all other segments of our society. The need for media actors to innovate is now. You must embrace digital platforms, diversify your content, and build on collaborations and partnerships outside the beaten path. Ladies and gentlemen, the relationship between government and the media has often been strained and marked by distrust, tension, and adversarial interactions. The media has been cited for advancing political and partisan interests sometimes at the expense of its core mandate of being the public watchdog. It has been blamed, maybe fairly, maybe unfairly, for the deterioration of public values through the glorification of immorality, vanity, and morbidity in pursuit of the almighty shilling. On the other hand, government has been accused of frustrating the media due to its publicization and profiling of issues in society. Government has been accused of seeking to control coverage through coercion and intimidation. Government has been accused of failing to protect media freedom and the personal safety of journalists. We must bridge this divide and build a working partnership grounded on accountability and responsibility. Both the media and government are charged with great responsibility, great power, great influence. And whoever is entrusted with great power and great influence must, and I say must, be subjected to great accountability. To whom much is given, much is required. It is not in doubt, perhaps from where I stand, that government appreciates the role of the media as a watchdog in society and will continue to support the sector to effectively perform its role of shaping public discourse. Through educating the public on current affairs, exposing malpractices, and holding government agencies and officials to account, the media contributes to the safeguarding of the tenets of our national values and principles of governance, which are espoused in Article 10 of our Constitution. However, the exercise of media freedom as guaranteed by the Constitution should be of necessity be tempered with a sense of responsibility, as I have said, and accountability. It is more common today to find single perspectives barely tempered by a right of reply about perceived government action or inaction. Indeed, it is not uncommon to see small insert apologies, often a few days after a sensational story has been published, seeking to apologize and clarify positions, and only after a victim has called the media out for its misreporting, by which time the credibility of the victim is in shambles. Journalists must uphold a high level of professionalism that is founded on professional standards. I am aware that the Kenya Editors Guild, as the professional association for editors in Kenya, is dedicated to promoting media professionalism and credibility. I call on you to do more. The profession is expected to candidly critique and point out areas where the government can do better. As you do so, it is equally important to spotlight the reforms, initiatives, programs that occasionally government implements, sometimes without a lot of fanfare, to improve the lives of Kenyans. In other words, paint a comprehensive picture for the people of Kenya, both the good and what you think could be done better. Government does not ask to be favored. We do not request to be favored. No, we ask and indeed expect impartiality in your reporting, where you present all the facts and cover all sides of a story. Fair reporting, in a sense, should mean not reporting what cannot be verified. Reporting must not be aimed at tarnishing people or institutions' reputations.